What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We've got a loaded Saturday slate, and this is exactly the kind of board where you can find some real betting value if you slow down and look at the matchups the right way. There are a bunch of games here with different angles, some pitching edges, some offense spots, and a couple of totals that stand out if you expect the game flow to go a certain way. So let's not waste any time and get straight into the card. First up, Chicago and Detroit. This is a really interesting game because the White Sox have actually been one of the surprise teams in the division this year, but this spot still feels a little dangerous for them. They're coming off a loss in Game 1 of the series, and now they're dealing with a bullpen game against a Tigers team that is much better at home. That's the first thing that stands out to me. A bullpen start is always tricky, especially when the relief group behind it hasn't exactly been automatic all season. Chicago's bullpen has been okay at times, but I don't think it's strong enough to give me confidence in a full game spot like this against a home team with a decent pitching edge. Detroit's starter has shown flashes this season, and even though the last outing wasn't his best, he still gives them a legitimate chance to control the game. The Tigers also haven't been great offensively overall, but at home they've been much more reliable, and that matters here. Chicago's offense has been fine in spots, but the lineup is not at full strength, and that makes this matchup a little tougher. When you're asking a weak bullpen to cover a lot of innings on the road, it usually becomes a problem if the other team can simply keep the game close and wait for its chances. So for this one, my best pick is Detroit moneyline. I'm not saying it has to be a blowout, but Detroit feels like the side with more stability. Next up, Cincinnati and New York. This is one of the stronger spots on the board to me. The Yankees are just playing better baseball right now, and they've got a clear edge in almost every area that matters. Their offense has been rolling, their bullpen has been solid, and they're getting enough from the starting rotation to stay in control of games. Cincinnati has some talent, but the overall profile is still messy. The bullpen has been a real problem, and the offense hasn't been consistent enough to make me want to trust them in a tough road spot like this. Even when they do hit, they usually need a lot of things to go right to turn it into a win. The Yankees, on the other hand, are doing what good teams do. They're winning consistently, they're scoring in bunches, and even with some injuries, they're still one of the most dangerous lineups in baseball. That makes them a very playable favorite here. I also think the market has enough room to consider the run line again, depending on how the number opens. If the Yankees get on top early, this is the kind of game that can separate fast. So for this one, my best pick is Yankees to win. The Reds just don't feel like the team I want to back in Yankee Stadium right now. Next, Toronto and Chicago. This is a tricky one because the Cubs just came off a huge offensive outing, and that always creates a little bit of a question about the next game. Can they carry that momentum over, or do they cool off after a big number? That's part of what makes this one interesting. Toronto hasn't been great offensively for stretches this season, and their overall hitting profile just isn't strong enough to make me overly confident in them on the road. Their lineup can have moments, but they're not a team I want to back aggressively unless the matchup really supports it. Chicago has had its own offensive issues, but they've at least shown they can put runs on the board when they get going. Their pitching situation is decent enough to keep them in the mix, and at home, I trust them a little more than Toronto in this setup. The concern with the Cubs is obvious though. After a big offensive game, sometimes the market gets a little ahead of itself. That's why I'd rather keep this one more moderate than try to force a big statement play. So for this one, my best pick is Cubs to win. If Chicago's starter gives them a decent outing, they should be in a good position. Next game, San Diego and Texas. This one feels like a much cleaner totals game than a side game. Both offenses have been inconsistent, and both teams have pitching setups that give me a little confidence in a lower scoring game. San Diego has not been good at the plate this season, and that's the biggest thing holding them back. They've got enough individual talent to pop at any time, but as a group, the offense just hasn't been there. That makes them difficult to trust, even when the pitching is respectable. Texas is similar. The offense has been underwhelming, and even though they've had a few better nights, they've still been far too inconsistent to make me want to lay a big number with them. What I like here is the possibility of a lower scoring game where both starters can keep things manageable and the bullpens don't need to be overworked. That's the kind of environment where the under becomes appealing. So for this one, my best pick is the under. If I were forced to choose a side, I'd slightly lean Texas at home, but the under is the cleaner look. Now to Milwaukee and Atlanta. This is a really good game, and probably one of the better matchups on the slate. Milwaukee has been excellent this season, and I still think they're one of the more complete teams in baseball. They've got a strong lineup, a reliable rotation, and a bullpen that helps them close games out. Atlanta is obviously a very good team too, and Chris Sale gives them a huge edge on the mound. But I still think Milwaukee is a live dog here, especially at a decent price. The Brewers have been performing like a team that knows exactly who they are. They pitch well, they play solid defense, and they do enough offensively to stay in games. That kind of profile travels well, and it gives them a shot even in a tough road environment like this. Atlanta's bullpen is one of the best in the league, so if this game gets into the later innings, they're in a good position. But I still think Milwaukee has enough to keep it competitive and maybe steal it outright. The total is also interesting here. Both teams have the pitching to make this a tighter game, and if Sale and Harrison both do their jobs, this could stay under the number. So for this one, my best pick is Brewers to win. I also like the under here. I like Milwaukee as the value side if you want a dog. Now to San Francisco and Miami. This is a pretty interesting matchup because the Giants have not been a team I fully trust lately, even though they've had some decent numbers in a few areas. The big issue is consistency. They'll show you a good stretch, then follow it with a game where the offense disappears and the bullpen gets exposed. Miami, on the other hand, comes in with a starter I really like in this spot. He's been throwing the ball well, he's been steady at home, and that matters a lot in a game like this. If you can get quality innings from the starter and you're facing a lineup that hasn't been producing at a high enough level, that gives you a big edge. I also like the Marlins bullpen here more than San Francisco's. Miami has been one of those teams that might not look flashy, but they can absolutely win a game like this by simply being more stable from top to bottom. So for this one, my best pick is Marlins to win. Next game, Washington and Tampa Bay. This is one of those games where the pitching situation makes everything a little trickier, because once you start looking at a likely bullpen-style game, you have to think more about total game flow than just a starting matchup. Washington has actually been a nice surprise offensively this season. They've scored well, they've gotten on base, and they've shown enough balance to make them dangerous in the right spot. The problem is the uncertainty on the mound, because if you're asking a bullpen to cover a lot of innings, that can get messy quickly. Tampa Bay has also cooled off a bit, and they're not exactly in the same explosive mode they were in earlier in the year. Their offense hasn't been doing enough damage lately, and that makes me less excited about laying a number with them in a game where we may not even know exactly how the pitching is going to unfold until closer to first pitch. Because of that, I'm not rushing to force a side here. If anything, the over becomes interesting if both clubs are leaning on the bullpen more than expected. So for this one, my best pick is Nationals to win, and I also like the over here. I'd call this more of a stay away than a strong play. Next up, New York and Philadelphia. This is a really important game, and I like the Phillies here a lot more than the market might if you just look at surface-level recent form. The big reason is the starting pitching edge. When you've got a guy like this going for Philadelphia, that changes the shape of the whole game. The Mets are still not giving me much confidence offensively. They can have moments, but overall they've been too inconsistent at the plate and too limited in terms of sustained production. That becomes a problem against a quality pitcher and a team that can control the game at home. Philadelphia has had some offensive issues of its own at times, but they're still the side I trust more in this spot. They're at home, they've got the better starter, and they're facing a Mets team that just hasn't been reliable enough offensively to make me want to back them on the road. So for this one, my best pick is Phillies to win. I think the Phillies are in a good position to handle this matchup. Next, Cleveland and Houston. This is a really solid game from a betting perspective because Houston has the kind of offensive profile that can punish mistakes, and Cleveland has been too inconsistent at the plate to make me feel comfortable backing them in a tough road spot. Houston's starter has had some bumps lately, but the overall talent level is still there, and the Astros lineup is much more dangerous right now. They've been getting enough timely hitting to keep pressure on opposing teams, and that matters against a Cleveland offense that has not been doing enough damage. Cleveland's bullpen is good enough to keep them alive, but if their offense doesn't show up, that edge starts to disappear. I just don't trust them enough in this matchup to take them seriously as a road play. So for this one, my best pick is Astros to win. Houston feels like the better side here. Next game, Pittsburgh and Colorado. This is one of the strongest spots on the board for me. The Pirates are the much better team, and even on the road, I like them a lot in this matchup. Colorado just hasn't been nearly good enough defensively, and when you combine that with a weak bullpen and a starter who can get hit, it's hard to trust them against a better opponent. Pittsburgh has not been perfect, but they've got a far more reliable overall profile. They can pitch, they can hit enough to win games, and they've got a starting arm here that gives them a real chance to dominate. That's the big separator. The other thing I like here is that the Pirates are in a bounce-back type of spot after not cashing in the first game the way they should have. That usually gets a little extra urgency out of a good team, and I think that shows up here. So for this one, my best pick is Pirates to win. This is one of my favorite spots of the day. Next up, Los Angeles and Oakland. This one is a little more delicate because the Angels starter has actually given them some really good work this year. That's the main reason I'd rather lean toward the Angels as an underdog than blindly trust the Athletics at home. Oakland does have the better offense right now, and their lineup can be dangerous in spots. But the pitching behind the starter is a concern, and that's where I start to get a little more interested in the Angels, especially if you're looking at first 5 innings. The Angels' bullpen has been bad, and that matters a lot. So if you like Los Angeles, I think the cleaner way to play it is earlier in the game rather than asking the full bullpen to hold up for 9 innings. So for this one, my best pick is Angels to win. This one is more about trusting the starter and avoiding the bullpen mess. Next, Boston and Seattle. This is another game where I really like the home side. Seattle has been playing solid baseball, especially at home, and they've got a starter here who has shown enough to make me believe he can handle a Red Sox lineup that has not been producing consistently. Boston's bullpen is actually pretty good, but that doesn't matter as much if the offense can't score enough to give them a lead. And that's been the big problem. They've just had too many quiet games offensively, and that makes it tough to trust them on the road against a team that knows how to grind out wins. Seattle doesn't need to be explosive here. They just need to be steady, and that's usually enough at home when the opposing lineup is struggling. So for this one, my best pick is Mariners to win. I like Seattle quite a bit here. Next game, Baltimore and LA. This is a matchup where the Dodgers clearly have the edge, and I don't think there's much mystery about it. They've got the better starter, the better lineup, and the better home field setup. That's usually enough to make them the right side. Baltimore has had moments offensively, but they've been too inconsistent and their pitching has been a problem all season. When you go into a game like this against a team as complete as the Dodgers, that's a tough ask. The Dodgers should control this matchup from the mound and from the plate. If they get even an average offensive night, they should be in a great position to separate. So for this one, my best pick is Dodgers to win. This looks like a pretty strong Los Angeles spot. Last game, Minnesota and Arizona. This is a weird one because both teams have had stretches where they've looked capable, but neither side has really convinced me they're fully trustworthy. That said, Arizona at home is still the side I'd rather land on. Minnesota has some offensive ability, but they've been inconsistent enough that I don't want to get too excited about backing them on the road here. Arizona's pitching situation isn't perfect either, but they've got enough at home to make me think they can get the job done. This feels like the kind of game where the number matters a lot, and I wouldn't be shocked if the market moves a little as we get closer to first pitch. But if I'm choosing a side, I'll lean Arizona at home. So for this one, my best pick is Diamondbacks to win. I think Arizona has the better home setup. That's the board for today. A few strong sides, a couple live dogs, and a handful of spots where patience matters more than forcing action. Stay selective, trust the matchups, and let the games tell the story once the first pitch is thrown. So that's where I'm landing today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with somebody who's betting these games tonight. It helps the channel a lot, and it lets me keep bringing you these daily picks and breakdowns. And I'll catch you in the next one.